should be okay on that. Yeah, definitely.
The January 17th, 2023 organizational meeting of the Prince Edward County Planning Commission called to order. Since this is the organizational meeting, I will call this meeting to order. I want to read this first. Prince Edward County Planning Commission strongly encourages citizens to participate in public meetings through in-person participation, written comments, or remote participation by calling 1-844-890-7777, access code 390313. Additionally, citizens may view the Planning Commission meeting live in its entirety at the county's YouTube channel, the link of which is provided on the county website. Public hearing comments for the Planning Commission meetings are subject to the Citizens Guide, providing input during public participation in public hearings for the Prince Edward County government meetings revised October 12th, 2022. First order is to call Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll stand, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item of business is the election of chairman. Do we have anybody like to make a motion for chairman?
I make a motion to recommend John President, chairman again.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Hold on one second, let me get to everybody. I'm gonna go through my, yep. Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Leatherwood?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Womack?
Yes.
Mr. Springerman?
No.
The ayes have it. It's almost unanimous. Mr. Springerman, it's your meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Next on the agenda would be the election of a vice chairman. Do I have a nomination from the board?
I'll move to nominate Chad Perry.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call now. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Pringerman, yes. Mr. Perry?
No.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Womack?
Yes.
And Mr. Leonardwood?
Yes.
The yeses have it. Welcome, Mr. Vice Chairman.
And to you, Mr. Chair.
Next on the agenda would just be setting the date, time, and place of our regular meetings. A few years ago, we changed the meeting to 7 o'clock on the third Tuesday, and the place of the regular meeting would be here at the courthouse. Do I have any suggested changes? Is everybody comfortable with this current structure?
Mr. Chairman, one thing if I may, our April meeting does conflict with the Board of Supervisors budget meeting. I didn't set a date for y'all, but we'll have to have another date. Does anybody have a date, whether it be the following Tuesday or some other time that week? I'll have to make sure this room's available, but what is the thoughts right now? Would you like to have it that week? Would you rather wait till the next Tuesday?
Why don't we do this? Why don't we just wait till the next meeting? If anybody has any thoughts, I think keeping it the same week probably makes more sense, but just everybody take a look at their calendar to see if there's any restrictions or conflicts you have for that week as we get closer.
And the other? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If there are no suggested changes, we'd like to keep the day on Tuesday, the third Tuesday at 7 o'clock and at the courthouse here for our regular meetings. Let's do a roll call now again. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Pringerman, yes. Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Womack?
Yes.
Mr. Leatherwood?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay. Next on the agenda is the adoption of commission bylaws. Mr. Love?
Yes, Commissioners, the other thing I put at your place setting tonight, the Board of Supervisors just readopted their rules of procedure for public hearings at their January meeting. So I have put the same template here for you all for your consideration. This is kind of what you've been doing, but just goes down through the list and sets forth the procedures to run the public hearings for your consideration. If you so choose, we would make this part of your bylaws for 2023.
Has everybody had a chance to review? It's just in addition to our bylaws. I think one of the keys is a more organized structure for public hearings, which was adopted by the County Board of Supervisors. And that would be the recommendation is that the Planning Commission follow the same guidelines for public hearings.
Rob, on the, I noticed the order of speakers, and you've got those with questions and concerns, number 2, and those opposed. Do you want those in support, those opposed, and then questions, or is it?
We've got number 1, this is what the board did. Those in support, those with questions, and those opposed, 1, 2, and 3.
So that's how they.
That's how they want to vote.
Okay.
And then, of course, the applicant gets the rebuttal.
Oh, sure, sure.
We have a motion to approve.
So, second.
All in favor? We'll take a roll call again. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Pringaman, yes. Mr. Peary?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Womack?
Yes.
And Mr. Leatherwood?
Yes.
Yes, motion passed. Next on the agenda would be our minutes. I know it's been some time at our October meeting. If everybody, or does anybody have any changes to the October minutes? If there's no changes recommended, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
With a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's take a roll then. Okay, Mr. Leatherwood? Mr. Womack?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Peary?
Yes.
Mr. Pringaman, yes. Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. The minutes are approved. We have 2 public hearings on the agenda tonight. The first public hearing is a special use permit for Tread Oz Investments LLC for a manufactured home subdivision. Mr. Love, if you could give us an overview?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the county has received an application request by Tread OZ Investments for a special use permit to develop a 56-lot subdivision. Now, the reason we are having this public hearing is because they are requesting manufactured homes. This land is zoned R2 General Residential. Subdivisions do occur and can occur administratively if it would be modular or stick-built homes. However, this subdivision and what we're here tonight for is to look at the concept plan put forth with manufactured homes on permanent foundations. You can see in your packet of information, the applicants have submitted photo simulations or photos of what structures could look like. This is on tax map parcel 022-A-108, located on the south side of Fairgrounds Road. This has been properly advertised in the Farmville Herald, and adjoining property owners have been notified. This is one of the applications that we took through the Development Review Committee, which is a staff level look at any application that we're trying to bring through to you all. We had representatives at that staff meeting from VDOT, the Health Department, county and town staff, as well as local utility providers such as like Dominion and Southside come to those meetings. The concept that you see tonight was developed from that. Subdivisions in Prince Edward County have to be VDOT maintained streets, so the developer would build the streets to the VDOT standard, and then they would be turned over once accepted by VDOT, become VDOT streets. So the streets you see on the concept plan, if this were approved and if this moves forward, will become VDOT streets, maintained and plowed and everything. So just wanted to put that out there. VDOT has looked at it. You do have a letter. They recommended approval after looking at they look at things like roadway widths, utility easements, nodes of your cul-de-sacs, straight lot frontages for each lot. So they did take a look at that. This site cannot currently be served by the town of Farmville with water and sewer. They stop well beyond this property. And they don't have existing easements to get to this property. So this is proposed as a well and septic subdivision. Now, that would be the case if it was stick-built homes versus manufactured. But again, just for clarity, with folks here tonight, the reason we are here is because this is proposed as a manufactured home subdivision, which is not automatically allowed in an R2 zone. I have prepared staff conditions. You also have at your place setting a letter from Department of Conservation and Recreation. They recommend three additional three additional conditions. I just got those today. Due to the holiday, I didn't get those to you in your packet, but I do recommend that you would please incorporate those if there's consideration for this. But I'd be glad to answer any questions the commission might have. The applicant's here, and I think prepared to do a PowerPoint.
Any questions for Mr. Love at this time?
What about underground utilities, above ground utilities?
I've put that in the condition that in your packet, that
I didn't see that.
all utilities would be underground. And our subdivision ordinance requires new subdivisions of this nature to have underground utilities. But I put a lot of conditions in the conditions themselves from the subdivision ordinance as a reinforcement measure. So please do take a look at those conditions. I think you'll see that reflected.
Okay. Let's see that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If this were to be approved, are the only kind of homes under this application allowed to be manufactured homes, or could any home, including manufactured? I just want to make sure I understand the application.
In an R2 zone, your modulars and site-built homes are by right.
Yes.
So the applicant could, if they wanted to on a lot, put a modular or a stick-built home. This would add manufactured homes
To the list.
to the list.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
56 wells on this property. Has anybody done any tests to see if that is suitable for groundwater in this area?
I'll let the applicant answer that, but based on their application, they have had initial soils work done on this site. And VDOT, the Virginia Department of Health would have to approve any new well that goes out there. But to answer your question, they have had preliminary soils testing done out there.
Any other questions for Mr. Love? At this time, we'd like to have the applicant come up and make a presentation. You can use the podium there, sir, if you'd like. You just kindly introduce yourself to the board and the audience here.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Browning with Youngblood Tyler and Associates. I'm an engineer representing the developer Treadall's Investments. How do I change? You got it. Is there a pointer too? That's the pointer. Up and down there. Gotcha. Again, I have prepared a short presentation that I'd like to go through tonight. The proposed development we would like to call Granite Falls. Let's see, where am I aiming at? Which way do I aim? Right here?
Too far.
There we go. So this is a 83.8 acre site on Fairgrounds Road. Currently today, it's approximately 30% open, about 70% wooded. There is a, make sure I can find the pointer if you can. Top button or bottom button's pointer?
Bottom.
There we go. It's kind of hard to see. So kind of in the middle of the site, there is a tributary of Buffalo Creek that kind of splits the site. We're bordered to the east by the town of Farmville and the Fairgrounds property. It's kind of hard to get this pointer to show up on the screen. To the north by Fairgrounds Road and to the south by the High Bridge Trail. To the west is a couple of small residential properties and then a portion of US 460. Again, the property is currently zoned R2 general residential. Sorry. There we go. This is just a picture of the existing zoning map, showing the current zoning in the location. Again, it's already zoned R2, which allows for subdivision into half-acre lots. The special use permit is needed, again, just to, as reinforced, to allow the manufactured homes. A review of the county's comprehensive plan also showed this area as development as well. This is a copy of the proposed layout. We're proposing 56 lots ranging in size from just under an acre to 3.7 acres. That corresponds to a density of about 0.69 units an acre. In the review of the comprehensive plan, if public water and sewer had been available to this property, it recommended a density of up to 4 units an acre. So it's substantially less density than what we were proposing. Again, since public water and sewer is not available, we're proposing well and septic. We're proposing VDOT public roads. We have 2 entrances onto Fairgrounds Road, predominantly to avoid the crossing of the creek between the 2 subdivisions. There's some topography there. There's also some wetlands and stream, and we're trying to avoid making that crossing to preserve. There's some mature trees and vegetation also in that location. We're trying to preserve that, and that's why we did not propose a crossing in that location. VDOT requires a stub road to adjacent parcels to be accepted into their system through connectivity. We're proposing a stub road into the residual property that lies within the town of Farmville, that's shown there in the green. But there's also an existing gravel driveway that runs down the eastern side of the property that crosses, I guess it was an at-grade crossing of the previous train track that accesses the property to the south. So there's currently a crossing of the High Bridge Trail there with a deeded easement. We're proposing to relocate that easement down the state road. VDOT recommended that we stub the state road to that crossing in that location. I was handed this DCR letter tonight, and we just had a chance to review it, and I noticed DCR maybe had some concerns about access to that trail of the crossing. I think we could maybe work it with them where we could just avoid that public road crossing and just, we have to give access to that existing gravel drive, but if they don't want a public connection there, we could work that out in the site plan and eliminate that public connection and just, we have to grant that existing easement that is currently there. Again, none of the lots would have direct access out on the Fairgrounds Road. We provided a 25-foot landscape buffer along Fairgrounds Road. Again, we also arranged the lots and configured them in such a way to try to preserve all the existing streams and wetlands on the property. There was a delineation done and approved, and with this layout, there's just a minor amount of wetland impacts. It's hard to get this to show up, but where the road would cross into the Farmville property, there's a little bit of wetlands there that we would have to cross with a road connection. Oh, sorry, too fast. So, there you go. Thank you. So these are some example elevations that we are proposing. They're looking to try to do a higher quality manufactured home. They would have a mix of styles. Home sizes would range anywhere from 1,100 square feet up to 2,000 square feet. Home price ranges would be anywhere from $250,000 to $375,000 for homes. I mean, some of the lots are an acre and they up to 3.7 acres. again, these are some other example elevations. Yeah, sorry. Won't go back one. Thank you. These were just some more sample photos of some of the design features on the inside of the units, with the appliances and countertops, bathrooms. What time here? Again, some more sample elevations. The benefits of Prince Edward County, as we all know, inflation is really high now. There's a great need for affordable workforce housing. This would provide this in this area. Development in an area that's currently zoned and designated for growth on the comprehensive plan, as well as already zoned on the zoning map. Some added rooftops to support local business. Development in this area, reduce sprawl into the other rural areas of the county. Again, I'm Andrew Browning. I have the developer, Mr. Johnson from Tread Oz. Here we're happy to answer any questions. Quickly, I know we have done some soil work on the property. We have probably looked at half of the lots. We're maybe gonna section this into the first section. We've done some soil work. Probably half of the lots work for a conventional system. There are some that need an alternative system, so a next level septic system, which is not uncommon in this area of the state on developments of this size. Wells get to be a little more complicated. You know, it's hard to depict exactly what's down there and where you're hitting an aquifer. There's some studies that I've seen done in the past where they basically use like a ground penetrating radar. And then they'll shoot a signal into the ground, and if you hit a rock, it comes back faster. And so where there's not a rock, it'll come back slower, and that's kind of how they would give well companies ideas where to drill wells. But, you know, they kind of locate where the water is. But when you put a well in, it's still kind of hard to determine exactly how much water is there, where it comes from, where the aquifers are. So there's some really in-depth studies that maybe you could get into that. In my experience, we've done a lot of communities around Central Virginia. This many wells on this area of property, average acre, 2 acre lots, is not uncommon to have wells, and they have worked, and it's normally supportive of that density for wells. Again, I just want to point out that the main reason we're here tonight is for the manufactured housing. We still have a lot of permits and approvals ahead of us, site plan for the subdivision, VDOT approval on the roads, DEQ on the stormwater, health department and DEQ on the well and septic. And so we still have a long way to go. This was our initial step to get the approval for manufactured housing. Again, I'd like to stress the kind of need for that housing in today with costs being where they are, and happy to answer any more questions and ask for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any questions for Mr. Browning from the board before we open the public hearing?
Have you drilled any test wells?
No, sir. We have not gone that far yet.
Are these houses gonna be for sale or for rent?
For sale.
Do you have certain units that are available, or can an individual pick the unit they want from any manufacturer?
You have a set manufacturer in mind? So they have several different units they can choose from, but they have a manufactured home contractor in mind, and they have several different units they can pick from.
So these will be new rather than used?
Yes.
Is there going to be an HOA with this subdivision?
There would have to be an HOA to maintain. There's going to be common areas that the HOA will have to own and maintain. And, there would be stormwater basins that will require maintenance agreements with DEQ that the homeowner association would have to maintain. So yes, there'll be an HOA.
The photos you're showing basically all depict what we would call a double wide. Are you staying strictly with double wide, or are you offering?
Yes, so there was a condition in place to eliminate single wides.
Right.
And so, yes, these would just be
Okay.
what most people would call a double wide
Okay.
product.
Okay.
A minimum square footage?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. Okay.
Are the lots going to be sold, or are they gonna be rented to whoever owns the house on the lot?
Just selling, right? To be sold.
So, okay.
So these are double wides, they're not just, they aren't modular.
So I guess they're not modular, they'd be determined manufactured, which would be essentially a double wide brought in two pieces, probably and assembled and sold on the lot with a permanent foundation.
Mr. Womack, I spoke to the building official today, just for clarification, what a manufactured product is. Manufactured product has a HUD sticker on it. A modular does not. Modular is built to the Virginia Building Code standard, and a modular is allowed anywhere in the state of Virginia that a residential structure is allowed, just like a stick built. But manufactured can be special use permit for localities, which Prince Edward is one of those localities.
Mr. Goode?
You stated you had done some of these projects around this area. Where are some of them at?
So we do a lot of work in Goochland County, Powhatan County, Hanover County. You know, we've done some stuff in Cumberland and, you know, Powhatan, that area.
Will the streets be paved and is there street lighting?
So we are paving the streets. We did not propose any lighting, but they will be paved to VDOT standards.
What are the plans for the part of the site you said is in the town limits? The green part off to the side?
So I think the plan is to come back and also develop that. That may be just single-family residential or maybe more of the same. That is also zoned in the town. I think, I can't remember, there's a special use permit required. Do you remember if that's required in the town too for this? By right, you could do them in the town.
The presentation was made to the town, correct?
Staff.
Staff, town staff?
Yes, staff, right.
Okay, yes. Any other questions for Mr. Browning?
One more real fast.
Sure.
You mentioned some common areas that an HOA would need to be maintained, and it looks like, almost like smack dab in the middle of the subdivision maybe is one. There's like a green.
Yeah, so some of those
rectangle.
darker greener areas, you know, would be where the stormwater basins would be in the outfalls, and some of those would be in common areas that wouldn't be on a single lot, and, you know, they would be maintained by the association.
So based on this depiction, how do you get to those common areas, basically going along the side of?
So
or in
we
between two
had
lots?
we left some access or frontage onto the public road, so they had access to those common areas.
And the quantity of homes or lots would be predicated somewhat on the well and septic system.
Again, so, yeah, we're showing 56, but if we get in and we can't get a septic field to work, or there's not a well, then there wouldn't be a lot. We'd have to reconfigure.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Based on the subdivision that you already have existing, do you have any problem with the water based on the number of units, the wells?
As far as wells, we have not dug any wells, not yet. We're not anticipating any problems with wells. Like I said, we have done other neighborhoods of this type of density around, and we have, you know, have been able to find there may be different depths, and, you know, it's kind of weird sometimes digging a well. You may dig here and dig 300 feet and get 30 gallons a minute, and dig there and go 700 feet and get 5. So, you know, sometimes it's kind of hard locating those spots. The area to the right, kind of the center section on the screen between the dark green and the area to the left, we have already done the soil work on those lots to verify that we could get drain fields to work in there. And they're probably, you know, half and half conventional and half alternative, but there are sites in reserve areas that work within the lot.
So you're gonna have a buffer between High Bridge and this development?
So we could, I was, you know, as I was reading this letter a little while ago, you know, there's a pretty big right of way that the railroad had, so there's quite a bit of trees between the trail and the property line of the subdivision. But there's room in there that we could definitely dedicate a buffer if DCR would like that. I mean, we can easily put a buffer in there to buffer the neighborhood from the trail. That would not be an issue. There's plenty of room to do that.
I got one other question. Sure. As far as purchasing the lot, when you purchase a lot, do you have a certain amount of time before you have to put a structure on it, or is there room for speculation in there to buy lots and build later? Or, I mean, I didn't know if you had any time frames on that.
I'm gonna let you answer.
Yeah, I think it's typical is that once you can wait to start. If you start, I think the typical answer is it needs to be completed typically in a year's time, so that construction doesn't stretch out over a long amount of time. But that's the typical scenario from the building, build official lots.
Right. So the intention is for you to go ahead, sell the lot, and also supply the home?
Correct.
Any other questions again from the board?
So you had mentioned, I mean, affordable housing, of course, is needed in the area. Do you have any kind of idea of what kind of price range these properties are? Is it gonna be low income?
So I think
moderate
what I
income?
had mentioned before, what, was indicated was 250 to 350, 375,000 for the house and the lot, depending probably on some of the lots as well and the size of some of those lots. Some of those are pretty bigger lots, back in the back, so that would also be factored into the price.
I thought of one more question
Sure.
related
Thank-
to that. Actually, two more. You mentioned that the overall site is part wooded, part clear already. Will the wooded part be clear cut for this development, or is there some plan to maintain as many of the trees, particularly mature trees, as possible?
So the bigger mature trees are down in the wetland areas along the stream anyway. It's been timbered sometime in the past, and, the stuff kind of towards the east is probably regrowth in a lot of area. I mean, you're not planning to go in and mass
I
clear.
think on any of the wooded lots, all we would intend to do would just be to clear enough for yard. well,
Drain field,
septic.
yep.
Most
Yep.
buyers want that
Yes.
privacy anyway, so no, it would not be any incentive to clear any more than necessary for just the building and driveway and septic area.
So where we placed a lot of the roads are kind of on the ridges, and the intent would be not to mass grade or anything like that. It would be to try to get the road in and then come in and preserve the trees where we could.
Gotcha.
So when I drove by the site yesterday, and I noticed it's clear in the front. I mean, you can see pretty far back before there's any woods. How much of the site is that area?
I would guess it's about 30% of the site. So, 20 acres or so probably is open in the front.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Browning, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, let me explain a little bit how the public hearings work. Out front was a sign-up sheet, which we did have actually two individuals, an either/or, sign up to speak. I also have a letter here that we'll discuss. A letter was sent to the board in advance of the meeting today, so I'll review that. From that standpoint, what we always ask is, anybody that chooses to speak will go from the list first. We would ask everybody to come up to the podium, state their name, where they live within the county, and then an opportunity. And again, with the direction we have is we're going to have those in support of the matter, those with questions or concerns, and those opposed, and then the rebuttals. We do have the applicant gives the opportunity to speak back, either answer questions, rebut what was stated or whatever. After everything is said and done, then the public hearing would be closed and the board will review that and we'll come up with a decision whether we are in favor of it, against it, or we table it. And then from there, it would go, if it's approved from the county planning commission here, it would be moved to the county board of supervisors at their next meeting. So that's the way the guidelines would work. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. I would like to see if either Mr. George Connor or Susan Luther would like to speak first. If you can come up to the podium, please.
My name is George Connor III, and my family has owned 325 Fairgrounds Road property for this year will be 60 years. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, Mr. Love, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. As I mentioned, for about 60 years, our family has owned the property at 325 Fairgrounds Road, which sits east of the proposed property. We have major concerns with this project, and in all due respect to you gentlemen from Richmond, are strongly opposed to the special use permit for the manufactured trailers that they would like to place on it. We have 6 points that I'd like to share with you real quickly. Placing marginal quality manufactured homes on this property is not a good use of such a valuable resource for our county. These structures do not have the longevity of a quality built house. If development is to occur, we want a quality development with real houses that meet the normal zoning requirements and not require a special permit for trailers. Create a good neighborhood that the community can be proud of here in Prince Edward County, and it will increase the county's tax base instead of reducing it by lowering the property values on the surrounding homes. With a section of the proposed development is open field, the other is old-growth timber, which, as a boy, I went through all those acres. And I can surely attest that there are many trees there that are well over 100 years old. And these beautiful trees play a vital role in our environment, and it would be a shame to see them cut down and replaced by low-quality manufactured housing. Another part of this is the septic issue. According to the proposal's preliminary studies, the soil is conducive to conventional septic systems. Now, the gentleman stated that some of them perked and some of them didn't. My question for them is, how many of the lots have they tested, and how many of them have failed? Our property underwent a soil analysis in 2021 that was done by Kuntz, Bryant, Johnson, and Williams of Henrico. They took 4 different locations that were tested on our property, none of which met the requirements for a conventional septic, and resulted in the installation of an alternative septic system. Given our experience, we believe the preliminary studies to be overly optimistic, which could leave homeowners and the county with septic issues in the near future. The proposed 56 sites will each have their own well, and as the gentleman pointed out, there's quite a few existing homes that use that aquifer on Fairgrounds Road. Will the water table support this additional major increase in water usage, particularly if there's a drought? The increased usage could leave everyone without a water source or face severe rationing. The map provides shows several creeks on the property. The well and septic issues discussed above could adversely affect these creeks and our water supply, leaving the county and homeowners with a costly environmental cleanup. As was mentioned about traffic, I understand that the Virginia Department of Transportation is going to take care of the inside part of it. But when you have 56 new homes, there will certainly be an increased number of cars and traffic on Fairgrounds Road. Assuming each home has approximately 2 vehicles, that's an additional 100-plus vehicles using the existing road. Imagine the increase in the mornings and afternoons. The county can also expect an increase in accidents, because I don't know if you have pulled out of Fairgrounds Road to pull onto 460 to come into town, but you almost have to get at a perpendicular, and the hill is right there at the entrance to Fairgrounds Road. In closing, we strongly oppose the proposed Fairgrounds Road development, and in particular, Tredaz's special use permit. We have serious concerns about the appearance of the development. You were shown some of the pictures, but I think you have in your packet some of the other pictures, which we have very, very significant concerns about. We also are concerned about a diminished water source, which is in some instances once it's depleted, it's gone. We also are concerned about potential septic failures, which will have an adverse effect on all of Fairgrounds Road and on the environment. We ask that you not approve this special use permit or the development as it's been presented to you this evening. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you this evening, and thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Mr. Connor, thank you. I do want to apologize, as I had spoken earlier. The guidelines we've tried to do is we would like those in support of the matter to speak first, those with questions second, and those opposed. Unfortunately, when I wavered, I only had one name that signed up. So, Mr. Connor, I truly appreciate what you said to everybody here, and I thank you for taking the time to overview your letter. It saved me the time to read it, but it's very much detail, and thank you so much for that. With the public hearing still being open, does anybody want to speak and We'll start with people who'd like to speak for the project. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for the project? Is there anybody who would like, have questions or concerns? If you have any questions or concerns, if you can come up to the podium at this time? Or, I'm sorry?
I believe it's a done deal. They got a lot of money invested in it. It's a lot of tax base, and they could care less about the few people who live on the road. With pollution from the septic, it's gonna overflow most likely. The lack of water that could happen. You could lose your wells, you could have all kinds of contamination from your septic systems.
Is there a chance,
Mobile homes, and most of them are crap.
can I ask a question, sir? I apologize. Can you come up to the podium? Are you okay to do that? Yeah. Please, it's just a standard procedure that we ask anybody to speak, say.
I'm gonna apologize before, because I might say something I shouldn't. Just like that. My name is Bruce.
Bruce,
Go
I'll hit
ahead,
the
I live
gavel.
over there.
I'll hit the gavel if you say something you
Oh,
shouldn't.
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Am I cool now?
You're
Okay.
fine. Go right
My name
ahead,
is
sir.
Bruce Goya. I live at 581 Fairgrounds. Between me and Charlene, we are surrounded by these people. We're gonna have trailers, not modulars, not stick-built homes. We're gonna have mobile homes sitting on a hill on the side of us with septic running down on our property and contaminating my well and her well. It's gonna happen. You know it, and I know it. With all these houses in that small area, it's gotta happen. And they're gonna deplete the water down to where we're gonna have problems. And I'm gonna have to spend a ton of money to get another well. And talking about mobile homes, myself and my wife, when we first got married, we could not afford a home. We bought a crap trailer in a crap trailer park. Then we got on our feet, and we ended up buying another mobile home because we couldn't afford a home. And we moved into a park that had a pool. They had tennis courts. They had a community center, if I remember right. All these promises, they all went to crap. The trailer park, within 10 years, turned to crap. We get out, and by that time, we could afford a home, and we got away from mobile homes. I don't want to live around them. That's all I got to say. Everybody else, do what you want, but when it all falls on your head, remember what I said. Mobile homes, you're going to be sorry you let them put them in.
Thank you, sir. I do want to address one comment you said that this is already a done deal. That's not true. This reason for the planning commission is we have a special use permit in front of us. No, that's okay. No, I'm not challenging. I just want to explain it is a special use permit that has not been, only been reviewed, has not been approved or voted on at all here, and that's a standard procedure.
The theory behind me saying that. maybe
Okay,
I spoke out of
sure.
turn. You're talking $350,000 for a mobile home? Come on, it ain't gonna happen. They're gonna substandard the mobile homes so they can sell them. They got a ton of money invested in the property, and they're giving you tax base you're gonna get. It's a bunch of crap.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to
I'm
speak?
sorry if I went too far.
That's okay.
I apologize.
No.
That's the way I feel.
Yes, sir.
Greg Sullivan, I live at 432 Fairground, so I'm right across the street from the open field
Yes.
part of this. I know it's a huge lot. So I just mostly want to reinforce most of the things that George said, Connor said, that our concern is the water, that if we all live, obviously, everyone in that neighborhood is pulling off the same aquifer. And if we have no way of knowing how big that aquifer is, adding 56 more homes to what is now less than 20 pulling off of it now, you're basically tripling the amount of water that you're pulling out of it. And we won't know until, if you have no way of knowing how big that aquifer is, then we won't know until it's too late that we had too many wells. And drilling more wells into the same aquifer doesn't change, doesn't fix the problem for us. And then we're also concerned about the strip, they talk about building a strip of trees or bushes or something to setback from the road itself. And we would like to hear more information about what that is supposed to be and how big and what all
A
that
buffer,
entails.
as it's called, the buffer.
The buffer,
Yes, sir.
thank
Yes,
you.
sir. No.
Thank you, I'm
Okay.
looking for the word.
Okay.
So are we talking about trees or just shrubs or what all is actually involved in that? Maybe you could speak to that.
One of the things that a buffer would do, the board can basically give input into what type of buffer would be expected there. Trees, combination of trees, hills, whatever the case, mounds. Okay, so we can do that. Okay,
Very good.
okay.
Yeah, would the neighborhood be able to have some input in things like that in terms of trees or shrubs?
The board would,
My girlfriend is a native plant specialist.
not as far as species, what we would do is we'd want to basically have a buffer of trees there, both existing and newly planted trees, but we wouldn't, typically, we don't state what type of trees that are going to be planted there. We just state that it has to be a buffer area with trees or, mature trees and certain height, we can do that.
What's there now is just really tall weeds,
Yes.
so.
Okay. No, understand. I understand. Okay. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to ask questions. My name is Susan Connor Luther. My brother and I have 325 Fairgrounds Road. And while we're talking about trees and buffers, we are right beside the property on Fairgrounds Road. So where that current gravel road goes down, we are right there beside that gravel road. It's right by our property, just so you have perspective. We have some very mature cedar trees there that I'm concerned once they start digging wells and septics and construction, those trees are going to suffer damage. And if they fall, it's going to be devastating to the house, should they fall on the house. So I am concerned about that. I would like some assurances that they would not be suffered in this process if it goes on. And the other thing is, we've been talking about buffers. What about a buffer between our house and this proposed development? It would be nice to have a development, because I'm going to be looking at somebody's backyard. They're going to be playing in their backyard, seeing me in my backyard and my side yard. And I would prefer to have some kind of buffer between my neighbors in that case. So I would like that to be considered. Thank you.
At this time, does anybody else want to speak?
Can I speak again?
No, we just prefer not to. Okay, but I appreciate it, sure. Mr. Browning, do you want to answer or maybe give a little bit more clarity on some of the comments and questions that were brought up?
Yes, sir, I'll try to answer some questions, but just wanted to point out again too, by right, we can put in 56 houses with 56 wells and 56 drain fields, and it doesn't need an approval. So we're here again tonight for the manufactured homes. So just wanted to point that out, I know that's a concern, but that it's by right that you could do that. We have, I'm gonna go back to Mr. Connor's first comments, or his list of questions. We've done, so my soils guys have done 26 of the lots right now. They've gone out and analyzed that portion, which we may be the first section of the subdivision.
So that would be 26 of the 56 proposed.
Yes, and they're about half and half, conventional and engineered. But the engineered systems are gonna probably be better than the conventional systems. A lot of these engineered systems today are pretty sophisticated, and they're almost like mini sewage treatment plants. And so a lot of the engineered systems the effluent from that is gonna be cleaner than if it were a conventional system. So in a lot of cases, the engineered systems are better than the conventional system. The question about the mature trees, a lot of where the larger mature trees are down in the vicinity of the wetlands or the stream or in the area of High Bridge Trail, and those are the areas that we're trying to preserve. And again, the roads will kind of be up on the top of the hills, and we're trying to limit the clearing for the houses in the drain field. You talked about traffic on Fairgrounds Road. The Fairgrounds Road is 35-mile-an-hour speed limit currently. That's the speed limit on the sign. It says 35 miles an hour. I don't know where people go, but that's the speed limit.
Please, I
Yeah.
apologize if.
So we looked at the road for VDOT requirements and the intersections and verified that we had the site distance at the intersections. This density didn't warrant any 529 studies by VDOT or any traffic studies by VDOT for this density and these number of houses on the road. A couple other comments here. And again, you know, talking about housing, there's a need for lower price affordable housing. There's a need out there. The manufactured homes of the day are some of the pictures I've seen and been inside, you know, Clayton homes and Oakwood homes. They're a lot nicer than they used to be. And I mean, they've got a lot of amenities in there and, you know, they're a lot different than the old, they're not single wide trailers, that they're gonna put here. As far as buffers, Mr. Sullivan was asking, I think up along Fairground Road, the intent was to provide some type of screening, whether it's evergreen screening or some kind of buffer. We're gonna put an easement in place where the lots do not have access onto Fairgrounds Road. They have to access the internal subdivision road to get out to Fairgrounds. So in that no ingress access easement, we would also have landscaping and would be some type of screening or buffering as well to prevent, you know, access to the road as well as screen the houses from Fairgrounds Road. Mrs. Luther, I think, had mentioned the trees along her property line. In that area is roughly where that existing gravel road is. And so the intent is just to move that road, to eliminate that road and have them travel down the public road to get to the crossing of the High Bridge Trail. So that road would just be abandoned. We wouldn't be planning to do any clearing or any disturbance back in that area or along the property line. So those trees should remain. As far as placing a buffer along there, we wouldn't be, you know, against having some type of buffer along the property line. Again, where that buffer would be, and a lot of it is in the actual gravel road. When it wraps around into the portion in the town, there's some wetland areas in there that we won't be disturbing and we won't be allowed to you know, get into anyway. So that's not a concern from us.
One of the options that, in potential conditions, if we would propose this, could be a 25-foot buffer around all sides of the property. That would be,
That
that would
does
be,
not, yeah, that doesn't, that will work for us.
that's just if we looked at something and added potential conditions. Okay.
Yep.
I think one other quick thing too, as it relates to the drain fields,
Yeah.
obviously that's a big concern.
Yes.
The state health department, with any residential building permit, whether it be stick-built, modular, manufactured, whatever, with that drain field, you have to have a primary drain field site with your application, as well as a full reserve drain field site on that lot. So if the primary ever were to fail, you have that reserve secondary to be in place, and that's governed and regulated by the Virginia State Health Department. So I just wanted to clarify that, make sure everybody understood that.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that'd be part of the permit to the health department. It's platted and mapped to where that is, and you can't disturb it and all that.
The health department would have to approve every single well and septic location as what drain field. That-
Yes, sir.
As they do it on all pieces of property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other comments, sir?
I do not have any other comments, any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, well, thank you again.
Thank you.
I did think of one question, for the foundation, since these, are you gonna put a skirting or a permanent type of foundation on the property?
There'd be a permanent foundation.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
With no other questions from the audience, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Listen to what everybody says, and it seems to always come back to the same thing. The green area to the east belongs to the town.
Yes.
Have you talked to the town about water and sewer?
So,
Can I answer that? As part of the vetting of this application early on in October, the applicants met with the county staff, which includes planning staff, the planning staff of the town, the public utilities of the town, and VDOT, and also Dominion. We were all in a staff level review. That's what we do for applications now, Development Review Committee. The town cannot serve the site. They are up at Fairgrounds Road, and they do not have existing easements to get there, and there are other properties that are not owned by the applicant at this time. So this site we've looked at this site for about a year. At first, over a year ago, we looked at this site, and the town said they could not serve it because it was potentially going to be developed denser than it is now. What you see now is development based on well and septic lots. But the town, Public Works, said they could not serve this site currently.
The green area, who owns that?
That's within the town. They're gonna have to go through a rezoning or special use permit with the town. They're starting with us first because they can't get to the town unless they have county approval. So if the county approves this, they will apply to the town and go through this same process for that green area. I don't know how many lots are in the town. They may can answer that, but there is a build-out within the town to finish this subdivision out in the concept. I forget how many lots you have, but
Maybe another 10 lots or something.
Another
There's
10
not a
lots.
lot of room in that area.
Work this out with the town, you're gonna be right at this area. It could be continued on in the future if there is an issue with water. So it could be tapped and run across.
Right today, no, but yes, maybe sometime in the future, they may bring it there. You're correct.
Other lot of
Yeah.
development.
yeah. But there are properties between this and where the town lines are, and that's why they said they don't have any existing easements to get there yet.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll go ahead and close the portion of the public hearing. At this time, the way it works, at the close of the public hearing, the board will discuss all matters considered in the public hearing, and as members of the commission, we will consider one of three actions. We will either approve with conditions. We have a list of conditions now, and we've added 4 other conditions to that, 3 from the DCR and 1 with the 25-foot buffer around all properties. We can deny the permit, special use permit, or we can table it for further review. And that's, you're all welcome to stay here. The board will just discuss things, and then we will take a vote and determine which direction we'll go. So amongst the board, thoughts, comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, as far as the concerns that DCR has,
Yes.
I don't know if you want to itemize those, but what did you include as far as, did you just take their recommendation verbatim?
I think their 3 recommendations would be what we'd add to the potential conditions, and the 4th one would be the 25-foot buffer with existing trees, as we talked about, around all sides of the property. We had talked about, and these are existing trees and or newly planted trees, but a 25-foot buffer all the way around, basically the perimeter of the property. So those would be 4 additional conditions that we would add to our potential conditions.
And you
which
would
we in our
have
packet.
no access from this subdivision to High Bridge?
We talked about not having access from the
No
High Bridge.
access.
Yes, just, yeah. That's the guidelines set up here that, we take what DCR sent in a letter to us with those 3
Okay.
recommendations, and as we talked here about the 25-foot buffer all the way around. Okay. Other comments and questions from the board amongst us here?
I have a question. for you,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lowe, in the course of the staff's review of this, was there any information about the life expectancy of these manufactured homes, how long they last? You know, I think there's a lot of imagery about what, you know, what older mobile homes or manufactured homes look like and what happens over time, how they often, even around in this county, they become decrepit. So
I would say from a parent standpoint, you have in your, no. The short answer on the unit itself is no, the manufactured unit. If you look at the conditions, I did recommend, as far as the foundation, that it would be architectural stone, brick, or, architectural block, brick or stone. So it wouldn't be a straight slick cinder block. So from a maintenance standpoint, at least to grade, that part is upgraded. There would be no skirting, which could deteriorate. But as far as a unit, you probably want to ask the applicant of the life expectancy of their product.
I think like anything, any type of residential construction, it weighs heavily on the homeowner and the maintenance, the deferred maintenance that goes along with anything. So I don't know that there's any set time span of expected life, you know, as it compares to a traditional home. I think why we put those pictures in was hopefully to, obviously there's the old image that people have of what a manufactured home used to look like years ago. I've been in construction for 24 years and going to see it myself, it's different, it's changed. There's a lot that are still the same old way, but there's a lot that are very nice and done new, and it's a lot of improvements that have been there. But as far as a life expectancy, we couldn't really answer that fairly.
Chairman, what I'm wrestling with is, from the sort of what could happen by right on this site. If
Right.
hypothetically, this wasn't in front of us and they were just trying to develop by right, say, stick-built homes, they would still, they'd have to have adequate wells, adequate septic.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct, nothing would
Okay,
change there.
nothing changes there. So this is really, to me, it's coming down to the fact that it's manufactured housing versus stick-built or modular.
That is true.
It's, the engineering considerations have to work either way.
All the other guidelines with Board of Health and everything remain in place,
Right.
independent of what type of house is put on that property.
And so, in terms of what's in the best interest of the county and providing adequate housing stock of all sorts, it comes down to this particular type of housing.
Correct. That's why the requirement for a special use permit, as was
Yes.
mentioned before, if they weren't looking at manufactured housing, there would not be a need for a special use permit.
Well, the county is flux with manufactured housing.
Yes.
I mean, it's everywhere,
Yes.
in all different conditions. I mean, they're sold cheaper because they're made cheaper.
Right.
So they don't last as long as a stick-built house would. And, the maintenance of them, of course, there's a stigma that goes with manufactured housing. I think we have quite a lot of it in this county.
Yeah.
And I don't know that this is the proper location to have a manufactured home subdivision.
Other comments from the board?
Who is y'all's preferred contractor for your homes?
Are you at liberty to say?
Yes, Clayton.
Okay.
Like,
And it's a different arm of Clayton. Like these homes are, that we are looking to bring in here are not, they're drywall on the inside. It is not wallboard. So it is Clayton, but it's a different version of Clayton.
So every home sold in this subdivision would be a Clayton home?
That would be the plan.
Okay. Okay. And all double wides, as we stipulate in our conditions, all, single wides would not be permitted. We're prohibited. Mrs. Sandlin, you made a good comment there, and I don't want to lead you, but your recommendation was to not have another subdivision of manufactured
I
homes.
don't feel that that's the right location.
Okay. Well, again, from the board standpoint, we have to, as a group, we have to come up with a motion. We have a bunch of conditions in front of us. We've added 4 more conditions there, and just whether we look at approving or voting on an approval, voting on a denial, or tabling it. And I just look for more input from the board here.
If we would table, what additional information would we be willing to glean?
If we table it, it's really up to the applicant to offer something different to us, or
But you would need to specify what you're looking for.
we have to specify what our questions are. Otherwise, there's no reason to table it. Then we really
Exactly.
just, so
Okay.
unless we can't make a decision based upon the information in front of us, that's the only reason we would table it. Then it would either be for or against, a denial or approval of the special use permit.
Well, I think that a good point was made. This subdivision could happen regardless, depending on, if it was a stick-built home or something like that. So I know the concerns about, septic and water, of course, are major concerns. If not here, where? That's the question.
Again, we go back to what's in front of us is a special use permit request for a manufactured home subdivision. And that's why, within the current guidelines of this property, that's what's needed is a special use permit to move to manufactured homes versus stick-built.
Robbie, am I correct? And you said when the town said they couldn't have, it was more homes than what's proposed here now.
Yes,
It
when
was
we were first talking, there were gonna be 100 or more homes. And I don't know if, I can't remember whether it was the same developer or different, this property, when it was looked at over a year ago, there were gonna be a mix of singles, doubles, potential townhomes, and it was a full build-out if it could be served by water and sewer. They greatly, the subdivision plan that you see as a concept greatly exceeds the density in an R2 zone. These are much larger lots than what you would see what you could see in an R2. Again, so our code goes up if they have to have well and septic. Lot size has to go up. So that's why you only see 56 lots in the county under this proposal. With water sewer, you could see 100 or more, potentially, by the density allowed in that district.
I address one thing on Ms. Sandlin. Just to clarify kind of a little bit, just so everybody understands too, as far as the existing manufactured homes within the county, I'm not up on that 100%. But these are a situation where, again, these will be sold as real estate, where each lot and home is owned by individuals, not as a park that each unit is leased, that you may see in the more traditional mobile home or manufactured home park. So I just want to clarify that will be different. They will be owned individually and done as real estate, not as a mobile home.
So may I ask you, I'm sure money, it's all about the money, why you would choose manufactured over modular? Because especially now, like you say, the new manufacturers are much nicer, which I agree with you, they are.
Right.
I'm in real estate, so I know. But the modulars aren't that much more.
Right, it's not, I mean, depending on what you're doing, it's probably a $30,000 or $40,000 difference between the manufactured versus a modular route. So it increases the affordability.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion from the board?
I would like to make a motion for us to table it and for the firm to go back to the town now or the review board that everybody's involved in, Rob, and see if the town could handle the water and sewer with the number of homes that they're looking at.
We can certainly do that.
That would be the conditions for us to table it is for further review that way.
Yes.
Otherwise, like I said, we can't just table it because we're not ready to make a decision. So
Right.
that would be one of the things we would look at is a communication with the town relative to water and sewer and the potential 10 lots they were looking at, but more so water and sewer. Does that make a difference to the board as far as approving the special use permit?
Yeah, I think we vetted that at the meeting before, the sewer is way,
Yeah.
and there's no way to get it there.
Okay, so water and sewer is really not an issue
It's not-
right now.
it's not an option.
The town does not have the capability
Yep.
or the desire, and
Capacity and-
capacity, capability, and desire to offer water and sewer. So we're basically looking at typical well and septic drain field for these lots in this subdivision.
And you say if you drill a well and you get not enough water for a home, you're gonna disregard that lot?
We have to drill another one until it met the health department standards, until we found water on the site, it would be approved, yep.
That would be the same process. They would go through the same process if they were building modulars or stick builds.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You either find water or you don't build.
Get a bigger lot.
Yeah,
It would change it could change the concept and lower the number of lots.
You might be combining lots.
Yes, sir.
We have one thought about it tabling, but our thoughts about discussing with the town isn't,
There are
Is an
multiple
option.
landowners.
Yeah.
They've said no.
yeah.
I mean, that's been a clear answer
Okay,
to us.
I knew they headed to Ferguson
Yeah.
Enterprise.
Yeah.
Which is, and the only,
But
they
they're not,
come in across if they came across Fairgrounds, that would be the only person. they got.
but they're not looking to do that, so.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yes,
Have you guys considered doing the modules, all modules, instead of the manufactured homes in that a lot of people don't like the idea? And I said that because I have one. You know, I have a manufactured home. Needless to say, I think I made a mistake. You know, I would go the other way. I would go to module or some other way because of what I see, you know. But if you had modules, it's a better quality home, and people would agree. That's my idea.
thank you.
Yes, that's right. You need to call for a vote.
I need to call for a vote or a motion. As the chairman, I typically do not make a motion, do not make a recommendation here. I rely on the valued knowledge and expertise of the group in front of me here.
You certainly can.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion if I can in the alternative, and I don't know if this is possible, but the first part of the motion would be to deny the request on the basis that it is not in the county's best interest to go forward with this. Or in the alternative, to your point, to table this for further engineering study on the well and septic feasibility and how many lots are we ending up with if they can study the site more. And I realize it's the same answer whether it's stick-built or modular or manufactured. But I think there seems to be a great unknown here of what the environmental causes will be of developing this.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think our challenge is, as the board, we have a special use permit request for manufactured homes, and it's not based upon a quantity of manufactured homes, it's based upon a piece of property that they want to put manufactured homes. That's the special use permit. So whether it's 56, 40, or 10, or 2, the special use permit that we have in front of us is for this site to have manufactured homes.
So my understanding, so I misunderstood, I thought it was for a 56 lot
No,
subdivision.
no, it's for a special use permit for manufactured homes on this site.
Okay, so then the staff report says, okay, so maybe there's a.
It does specify 56
Six
lots,
now.
that's the max build out.
Right, that's the
That would cap it.
Yeah, that would cap it, but that doesn't set a number. So we can't, we're not looking at a number, we're looking at manufactured home as the special use
Up
request.
to
Yeah,
56.
up to 56,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Based
Could be
upon a lot
1,
of.
2, or 56.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
based upon a lot of questions that come about with the Board of Health and other things like that on their studies.
And again, a point of clarification, if this were not manufactured homes, this would be an administrative review.
Yes.
Right,
It would not come to the board this way.
understood.
With that in mind, do you want to think about your,
I'll make my motion shorter,
okay?
which is I'll move to deny the request on the basis that it is not in the county's best.
Best interest, okay. Do we have a second? Okay. Let's go ahead through and we'll take a vote then. We have in front of us a motion and a second to deny the special use permit for manufactured homes on this property. We'll go around.
It's not in the county's best interest.
Not in the county's best interest. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Okay, you're voting to deny, yes? Okay. Mr. Gilliam?
Deny.
Deny, okay. Mrs. Sandlin, okay, deny, okay. Mr. Pringerman is deny, okay. Mr. Peary?
Yes, deny.
Deny, okay. Mr. Weiss?
Let's deny.
Weiss, I'm sorry. I have a Weiss that works for me, and I always get caught there, I apologize. Mr.
Happens to
Fuller?
me 100 times a day.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
as far as a deny, okay. Mr. Hunt?
Deny.
Okay. Mr. Womack?
Yes.
Okay, deny. And Mr. Leatherwood? Deny. Okay. The board has made a decision. We are denying the special use permit request for manufactured homes on this site. Again, this will go to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation that the County Planning Commission denied the special use permit, okay? That does not mean that the County Board of Supervisors could make another, could basically change our recommendation there, but we're recommending to deny the special use permit. I want to thank everybody for their time. I appreciate everybody's input, including the developer here and the applicant. You're welcome to stay for the balance. We have another public hearing, or you can leave at your leisure. Can we take a 2-minute break? Is that okay with the board? Okay. Again, thank you, everyone, for your time. I would take
You can't shut a water back and forth so much. And that would be.
If I can get everybody's attention, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing, special use permit, Becky Jenkins for a wedding and events center with lodging. Mr. Love, if you could give us a brief overview?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the county received an application by Robert and Betsy Jenkins for a special use permit to operate a wedding and event center with lodging on tax map number 053-A-3 located at 3286 Poorhouse Road. This is the former property owned by our Bobby Jones, who was a long-term member of the commission and board member who passed away last year. They own the property now, and they are proposing this use. This public hearing was published and properly advertised in the Farmville Herald. Adjoining property owner notification letters were sent out, and also you have a copy of that in your packet. Of note, this is only a portion of 053-A-3 on the east side of Poorhouse Road. The west side is, I think, currently in conservation. So it's, while I highlighted the parcel on your tax map, it's only the portion on the east side of Poorhouse Road. What's on the west side is in a conservation easement not to be developed. This is not the entirety of the Jones Farm, but is one parcel of many parcels. So the adjoining properties, I've had a number of calls from residents on Poorhouse Road that didn't touch this, who didn't get a letter, but I went on the other side of that parcel, even the conservation area, to pull the adjoining property owners. I've had no one speak for or against this application since we advertised, and I have prepared potential conditions, if you were so chose to approve, and the applicant has had those prior to the meeting. I would be glad to answer any questions you might have of me. Again, do you have any questions of me?
I have no questions. Anybody else from the board have any questions, Mr. Lowe?
VDOT recommended a sign about when an event is occurring. Did I see that in the,
I didn't,
coming from one side?
Yes,
yes.
it is, yes. Electronic message.
Well, electronic,
Message
right,
event.
right.
Event
On the
no-
south side,
Yeah.
right?
The event
Not
notification.
north side coming from Fort.
That was just with help with the traffic, notification
Yeah,
of
right,
the traffic.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little.
yeah, yeah. They're concerned more about the line of sight, is what they always look at.
And we did talk to them, we are able to take out some of that
Okay,
area at the bank.
yeah, that could be, that they would approve that in lieu of the sign, okay, which would probably make much more sense. Either you're gonna have to change the message, or you're gonna have to change the lettering every time. Okay, with that in mind, if there are no questions, would the applicant like to come up and speak for a minute? You don't have to. It's in front of us here. I guess, does anybody from the board, do we have any questions from the review here? Not just for Mr. Love, but for the applicant?
I have a question about the big barn.
Yeah.
I want to get her to the podium for that.
If you want to come to the podium then, we'll challenge you with questions while you're up here.
It's really just for my understanding.
Wait a minute, we're going to make you go through all, you have to state your name, where you live in the county.
My name is Betsy Jenkins, and I live in Green Bay.
Thank you.
So my question is, the barn that you all proposed to build, I looked at the property, it looks like it's, even though it's up high on the property, there's a slope,
Yes.
right? So will the barns, how are you doing that? Are you basically cutting into the hill to build the barn, or filling in to level it up? You know, just
So it's going to be on the level.
It is on the level part?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. I mean, it's going to drain away from it, how it naturally runs now, but we're just going to plant that field. We're thinking in grass because it's going to be hard to maintain a crop and make it look good the whole time.
So the hill cutting you're talking about is much closer to the road?
At the road,
Right.
yes.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And that's more to handle the signage issue that was addressed by.
Yes, sir. Because it's hard seeing around that curve coming. Yep. So we're really just trying to find a way to pay for the farm, so.
Can you
Yeah.
give a brief explanation on what your thoughts are on housing?
So we have an Amish builder. He's big with barn dominiums, so he likes doing them kind of on those little pads. We're not sure if we're going to go that route, and this is no time, probably,
Right.
in the immediate.
Okay.
We've spent enough money right now. But this would be something down the road.
Okay.
Maybe some, like, little one-room kind of deals. The
This
size
is-
of a hotel room, basically.
This is not a phase one, though, as you said. This is not part of the initial phase. Initial phase is put the barn up and,
We're gonna try to get so our son is getting married October 14th. If the barn is done by then praise the Lord. That's what we're looking for. So, yeah,
that's between you and the Amish builder, right?
that's right, that's right. But eventually, and I mean, there are those little, I talked to, Mrs. Bappert that owns the storage shed place. I guess that's Buggy Top in Cumberland. And she said that they're getting a permit now to make a mini house. So that's an option, something like that. And it would just be temporary so that people can come, you know, if they do decide to drink and they want to stay at the property. You know, or family, sometimes grandparents in and out, they could go back to their, you know, their area and have somewhere and not have to worry about running back and forth to town. And it depends on the weekends in Farmville. You can't find a hotel room.
How much parking are you gonna have with it?
Well, there's probably like a 4 or 5 acre field right behind it. I mean, it's 300 and some acres there altogether, so we have plenty of room to park.
So it'll be on the backside.
It will, yes.
Speaking of drinking, do you all have to do something to improve the well and septic conditions to accommodate however many people might attend these events?
So we have I guess he's ASOC, whatever that guy's called. Yep, so we are gonna contact him going forward. We were just trying to get this part over before we did a whole lot more legwork.
Well for the cows, so there's plenty of well water.
We know we're gonna have to add to the existing drain field.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Let's go ask Bob a question. Been in the dairy business and the trucking business. You ready for this?
And we are, just so everybody knows, the farmers will stay farmers.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still moving cows and bodies, and so like Betsy said, trying to make something to update for them. So nothing's changing, very little dirt moving, growing grass in front of the field.
How about the home place? Any ideas with that?
That's,
So we're gonna use that as the bridal suite. So a place for the girls to get ready, and if they wanna spend the night, they can just stay there.
Okay.
Because it's a bedroom downstairs and 4 bedrooms upstairs. It's 3 bathrooms, so it's plenty of room for everybody to.
Nice old Virginia home.
It is. If there are no other questions, we'll go easy on you. You can sit down and relax.
Okay, thank you. You hear that quick?
There were, as Mr. Love said, we didn't have anybody reach out to the county for or against this project, and we didn't have anybody sign up, but as far as procedures here, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Would anybody like to speak for or against? We'd ask people speaking in favor of to speak first. Could you please come up to the podium?
So my name is John Diamond. I live on Poorhouse Road. I think there are 2 property owners between me and the property in question. As it happens, my wife and I actually run a DJ business, and we find ourselves at a lot of weddings. I'm actually a licensed minister, and I officiate a lot of weddings. We have done many weddings at venues that are like what's being proposed here. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited about it. Maybe for one reason only. My wife can tell you that I spend a lot of time picking up trash off of the road. And one thing I'm looking forward to is to having a maintained and manicured business there on the road that I'm hoping will diminish some of that. But I have found that the type of clientele that usually will have an event at a venue like this, I mean, it's not like you're, you have riffraff or, a whole lot of crazy goings on or whatever. It's usually well done and the people pay a good amount to be there. And so I don't know if anybody's here to speak against it, but I just wanted to, since the people that speak for it go first, I wanted to say that. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I guess I might as well.
Okay.
So my name, for those of you who don't know, is William Bruce. My family has owned property pretty much behind the old CL poorhouse house for a long time. And we've been friends with that family for a long time. I share your feelings about Bobby's loss. Very sorry to hear that. I knew Bobby for a long time. He and I were actually baptized together. So, we go back a long way. I want to say that, not to speak a whole lot about my history, but I've been involved. My wife was a florist for a long time, did a lot of weddings at venues just like what is being described here. And so I have a pretty positive view of those kinds of venues. They are often very well run, very well taken care of, and they do add a lot to a community and give people an opportunity to get out and see, and have a wedding, that kind of an event, and a reception at a very beautiful outdoor, more or less, location. So people enjoy nature. They're usually very well run, and I'm sure this will be the case here. So I'm happy to see that. I also look at it as far as the old poorhouse being used as a bridal suite is an excellent way to preserve an old structure that no doubt has historic importance. So I think that is just an excellent thing. And I look forward to them actually getting approved and getting us off the ground. So that's great. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see anybody else in the courthouse that may want to speak for or against, so if there are no other comments, public hearing is closed right now. Give the board a chance to discuss any issues, questions, concerns. I personally, go ahead, I'm sorry, sir. I was going to say, I personally think it's something that is missing here within the county. I think it's a great idea, but it's something that we don't have right now in the area here. I know Amelia and some other areas do have it, and just what I've seen and heard, that they're very well run and get a lot of use, a lot of reservations.
So one at Junction Canal, I think they do very well with that one.
It's going to be a destination point. You got the old FU West barn, which I'm familiar with, and they got the one in Rice too, so I think Prince Edward County, good luck. But I think it's going to become a destination point here.
With that in mind, if there aren't any other questions, do we have a motion from the board?
Make a motion to approve.
With the conditions we have listed, that Mr. Love listed? Okay.
Second.
Okay. Okay, with that, we'll go around the room, and I'll start with Mr. Weiss.
I would vote in favor, but I do have a question to about the conditions. just
Okay, sure.
clarification, if we can. Do we need, and this is really, I guess, a staff question, do we need to have any conditions about maximum capacities, or is that just the building official or somebody else just sort of figures that?
That was something the county administrator and I put in there. I don't know if you have an intended max wedding events.
Since everybody that I've talked to, since it's semi-inside and outside,
Yeah.
they're not really gonna hold us to a number, but I mean, making it safe, basically, And the barn is large, it is gonna have a patio area, so some seating will be outside, actually outside.
You don't have to put a cap on it. We just put that, I put that in there to have, to spur a discussion amongst, the building will have a capacity set by building code.
Right.
But again, I didn't know if you wanted that. You don't, you can strike that condition entirely, or you can agree to,
I think as long as the, the building is gonna be built to have a maximum capacity for fire purposes or otherwise. So.
You'll have a maximum capacity based upon the size of the structure you build, and you'll have to adhere to that for this.
so again, that was just for discussion. You can strike that out, or you can put a number in there.
I'd rather say strike it out.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know.
Yeah.
What size it might be.
Do you want to amend your motion to strike that one out?
Strike that, okay? Anything else?
No, I think that was, and I know sometimes they already have, you have quiet time in
Right.
already, and, I think that suffices.
Okay, so we have in front of us a motion and a second, and with one caveat, we just taken out as far as what we're concerned about is number, any restriction on the number. We'll go around from there again. Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Womack?
Yeah.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Leatherwood? Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
It's unanimous. We approve the special use permit, and we will pass it on to the County Board of Supervisors for their next meeting. We want to thank you for all the time and effort you put into the application, and we wish you the best of luck. Okay, thank you so much.
I'm sure Bobby will be with you in spirit.
We laugh all the time, he's a bachelor, and we are gonna have a bunch of.
Right. That's right.
He'll show up at the wedding dressed the way he always dressed, you know that?
Shorts.
Yep, shorts.
We hope it works, Bob, but don't if you're awful nice hay baller. Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. Mr. Love, you want to give us a review of supervisor actions?
Yes, the only thing I had on review of supervisor actions, they did approve the Dollar General in Kingsville, which is north of the old Fish and Pig, with all the conditions. Just as a matter of information, we've already had a first stormwater submittal on that and comments, so that's moving forward quickly. I expect as soon as they get comments back to us, they were very minuscule from our engineer, that project will probably have an early spring build on it, more than likely. But we are in final design on that. And it did incorporate all the landscaping and everything that y'all brought forth. Move on to old business.
Yes, move on to old business.
Okay. On old business, I did put something at your place setting tonight. This is a end of the year report. It is required by Title 15.2-22, Section 2221 of Virginia Code. We've previously been incorporating this in other reports that go to the state, but I put this together at the request of the county administrator. I won't go bullet point by bullet point, but it talks about the number of meetings we had, considerations. One thing to note is that we ended the year with 199 zoning permits for new construction. That's pools, barns, sheds, outhouses, carports, and houses. I gave you a breakdown
How's that
of.
compare from year to year?
Last year was 159. My first year here was 147. Pre-COVID, we were in the upper 80s and very low 90s. So this is almost double from like 2018.
Mr. County Administrator, is there a new goal?
My goal. I got a goal.
I think, well, one, I think part of this year was to try to get to have an annual report, which is a list of the Code of Virginia, so we're doing that. But, I think you are starting to see interest peak up. It'll be interested to see, Robbie, you've got a 15-lot subdivision that's
Yep.
coming in. People are continuing to kind of strip off lots along highways, which is not necessarily a good thing either, but, companies like Rock River, they're still building pretty steady.
Yes.
So I don't see it slowing down.
Yeah. And cost of construction, you look at, y'all were talking about, you can do quick math if you wanted to on these tables and see what each project, a single home or two-family home, it's 45 of them, you got a project cost. You can see what, then this is declared by the builder, so we're not quantifying anything beyond what they tell us. But, you got 32 manufactured homes at $3.5 million. You've got 45 one and two family homes. For us, that's primarily a single-family home at 10 million. So there's a significant difference in the project cost there. But that's some numbers I don't think y'all have had before. Also, number of building inspections performed, 1,135. I'll have to say, our building official, has been in first year here, Mr. Philip Moore. He's still helping the town. This is not the total number of his workload in 2022, but this does not include town of Farmville, of course. But there's a lot of work here. There's a lot of inspections that take place. So I wanted to, the other part of this on the back side, we do have the CIP, capital improvements projects listed here, and how many of those got done. 7 of those are fully completed. And you've got a breakdown list of those, and we're making good strides on the other projects. I don't know if county administrator wants to add anything to that, but you've got a breakdown of 14 projects. We've got 7 done, complete.
Has work started on the 2 solar projects we approved last year?
One,
Just one.
just one. The one on Thomas Jefferson is still in engineering.
Still in, okay.
Yeah. The first things they do is go through us, then they get the interconnection agreement with Dominion, and then they move forward with stormwater design. And the projects we have approved, they want to get done quickly because there's new state laws coming in 2025 with environmental constraints for impervious that's going to increase their costs. So we'll see the ones we've approved get done. But I'll be glad to answer anything you've got. I do want to specify on number 2, Beverly and Kadir Abdus-Sabar, that's the slaughterhouse meat processing facility was withdrawn on Darlington Heights Road. The project is moving forward and is going in the industrial park. We have had a first submittal on site plan and stormwater, and they are bringing us comments back from that submittal. So I expect that thing in the next 30 to 45 days to be permitted from a site plan stormwater in E&S perspective. That is moving forward. I think there was and they obtained a grant through the economic development for that project. But that's why it says withdrawn. That site was withdrawn. They withdrew that after they moved it. But hopefully next year we'll have charts and tables and graphs and beef this up a little more.
Any new business?
New businesses, after our night so far tonight, we've got the draft zoning ordinance amendment. I want to tell you why we're here on that. The County Board of Supervisors asked all staff to review all county codes to ensure, number one, we comply with the Code of Virginia. There have been a lot of code changes since our current zoning ordinance was first adopted. Also, to look at development patterns, uses that we have been seeing occur in the county, and to get our ordinance modernized. So that's why we're here. I do want to say on the recommended motion, I'm going to just straight up ask you to take this home, digest it, read it, redline it, email me individually if you want. But I think we need to have, maybe take this up at our next meeting before we send it to the board. But that's your choice. I know I didn't get to give everybody a paper copy until tonight, but I think this is a pretty in-depth thing. I will hit the highlights. We've got a couple of things we've added in here. Non-commercial kennels, private use camping is something we have not seen. We've got a lot of folks that want to do a private use camping for themselves and their guests. Not commercial, not for rent, not on Airbnb. So this could enable that. One of the other things we've got is short-term tourist rental. We've approved several special use permit. Rex Williams was one of them. As far as little tiny homes for rental, you've got Sandy River, which does the Sandy River 2 and the original teepees. But we didn't have a short-term rental defined or that use listed. We didn't have rural event center. If we'd have had that, that's what I would have titled tonight's application by the Jenkins. There's a lot more in here. And I don't, one of the things I will say, in every district, I spoke with Trey Powell from Emergency Services. We had some zones that had accessory buildings with a 0 lot line setback. I don't think we want that from a safety standpoint, so where I found that, I moved that to 10 feet. That's, so we feel like we can get a equipment, maybe not a full-size ladder truck, but a hose and equipment, a man with turnout gear around that structure, in the event of a fire. So that's the reason some of that's in there. And again, can you think of anything else, Doug, that we want to highlight that maybe we added?
Again, go back to the non-commercial kennel, we've got a lot of folks that, have animals that are not boarding them for, professional services like floor pods, or that they might dog too, but we are getting a lot more complaints from folks. So, just trying to put some stuff in the code that addresses it, move forward, first, anybody existing is grandfathered, but, those are things that we've run across, but the Airbnb thing's exploding across the state, and I think we're seeing that more and more. And I think it'd be smart for us to get ahead of that, because something the ordinance to deal with.
But I want to say that the county administrator helped me quite a bit on this, the commercial kennels, and a lot of the information. We both went through it and spent some time on it to get it to this point. This is a first draft. If you see things or you know things, uses that need to be added, please let me know. But I think this is something I think next month we can get a hard look at this, let y'all digest it for 30 days, if you agree, before we go to public hearing. We're not on a timetable on this, but the board does want us to get our ordinances up to date. And I struck out some things that conflict with the subdivision ordinance. If you remember back last year, we updated exempt lots, family lots. So some of the strikeouts were because we got them over in the subdivision side to govern a family subdivision, an exempt subdivision. So I took them out here. So that's why you see some strikeouts on that.
I just think over the next 3 weeks or so, if anybody can get a chance to look at this and just shoot Rob an email if you have any thoughts or questions or, like you said, red lines or markups, that'll make his job easier and actually make our job easier at the next meeting. Because we're looking to be able to pass something on to the County Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, my hope would be if we get through next month as a final draft, we would advertise that for your March and then the board adoption in April.
To do a red line, you're gonna send us around in Word? Or did you
I can do that, sir. Yes, sir, I sure can. I'll be glad
It's
to.
easier
If you want to do that, I'll send it to you.
I can't break up a PDF.
Yes, if you,
I'm too cheap. I
if,
haven't taught that stuff.
how many people want Word? All right. I'll just send everybody the Word.
It makes the word,
And then if you can mark it up, then we'll do a combination.
that'll be easier for everybody.
And just mark, if you can mark it up in red, then I can just pull those out and we'll get to a final draft. So I don't know if a motion's order, you can, if you want to make a motion or have consensus to table it,
If everybody has consensus, we'll table this. Okay, I don't think there's need for a motion, we'll just table this, we'll take, the or in your, page 57, move the planning commission, table it proposed. We'll
Okay.
do that.
all right.
Anything else under new business?
I don't have anything else.
Before I adjourn, I just want to tell people I apologize for the length of this meeting. If you want to take another vote next month at the meeting to get rid of me as chairman, I understand. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, Jack's looking to get up in that seat.